Hey, what's up guys? This is Daniel from iapologia.com, and today I want to talk about who are you going to vote for and the principles behind it. One is Marxism and one is the abortion issue. And that's what I want to talk about today. My grandfather was not an excellent speaker. He was not elegant, but he wanted freedom and liberty for his kids and for his grandkids. He was against many different issues and for other issues. However, there are two issues that I want to focus on today, since today will be the day of the elections. The two issues I want to focus on is number one, abortion, and number two, Marxism. First, Marxism. What is it? Where does it lead and where does it come from? What is the worldview that makes up Marxism? And is it compatible with Christianity? I want to discuss that today. In addition, I want to talk about abortion. The issue of abortion. Is it right? What is the unborn? When does the unborn become human? And what makes the difference between the unborn and the born? Today too, just like my grandfather, I do not have an elegant speech, but I hope the content will outweigh the lack of elegance that I bring to you today. Let me first tell you a story about Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett was one of the well-known leaders of our early United States, and he ran for Congress. He was in Congress once, and he happened to vote for a certain plan that helped some poor person get through some struggle. So the government funds went to this poor person who really was in need. As he was campaigning for the next election, he was riding through one of his parts of his territory. And as he passed a farmer in the field, he asked the farmer if the farmer would vote for him. You see, the farmer said this. He's like, "No, I'm not going to vote for you." And Davy was like, "Why not?" The farmer said something to the effect of, "You gave money that was not yours to someone in need." And Davy was like, "What? What was that about?" And he told him about the situation the year before where Davy Crockett helped finance someone's devastated situation to help them get out of the hole, which is admirable, but it was not his money. That led Davy Crockett into a different mindset from then on out. He decided that he was not going to do that. He was not going to let the government funds finance for the poor people. Unfortunately today, in today's culture, we have this socialistic mindset where it's almost accepted nowadays. But to the founding fathers, they did not accept this. And even Davy Crockett, in his later years, saw the fallacy of his ways. The thing is, if the people of his district would have came up and donated money to this person, easily the person could have been helped out. Right now, I want to talk about Marxism and Christianity. You see, when the government sits there and tries to help people, it sounds good, but it's not always how the founding fathers of our nation wanted. And actually, I'm going to tell you that I don't think it's very Christian. The reason being is this. Let me compare Marxism to Christianity. I would encourage you, before I talk about Marxism, I'd encourage you to sometime get a hold of the Communist Manifesto. It's a book that you can download or you could buy at a local bookstore. It's freely available. But I want to tell you something about Marxism. Marxism is atheistic at its core. And I'm not being radical here. Marx himself was an atheist. In fact, Marx did not like Christianity because Christianity and Marxism were opposed to each other. So here, let me give you some of those differences. In Marxism pits certain classes of people against others. In Christianity, we don't try to strive for that. We try to strive for understanding and love and reconciliation between groups of people. Marxism prescribes or demands the redistribution of wealth, that you have to give up your money to help the others. In Christianity, not so. You are given the opportunity, the free will, the kindness of your heart, the love to help the poor people. In essence, Marxism is, it might sound radical here, but it is true, it's legalized stealing. It takes money from certain people and redistributes that same money to someone else. In Christianity, again, we don't have that. It's a free will offering type of situation. which is encouraged because we love our fellow human being, because of Christ's love to us. In addition, Christianity is against stealing, and that's huge. In Marxism, there is an assumption that humans are innately good. In Christianity, though, humans are innately bad and need a savior. That's the reason why we have a system in the United States that tries to look at both sides and tries to have a balance of power. Marxism wants one class of people to revolt against another class of people. Again, Christianity wants reconciliation. Marxism is against private property. Christianity, from the Judeo-Christian concept, private property is a good thing. Marxism is focused on the material. Christianity is focused on the spiritual. Marxism, the hope is for heaven on earth. Christianity is for hope for heaven with God in eternity. In Marxism, the sin is private property. In Christianity, the sin is rebellion against God. In Marxism, the government helps the poor. In Christianity, the individual helps the poor. Marxism, applied to the real world, is a culture of death and destruction. Christianity in the real world is a culture of life and love and freedom. Marxism is a man-centered world. Christianity is a God-centered world. Christianity is a God-centered world. From experience, Marxism has done a lot of persecution against those who do not agree with their view and against Christianity. Interestingly enough, this has been the protocol pretty much throughout the regimes that have tried it. In Christianity, we learned that we're supposed to love one's enemies and not persecute them. You see, Marxism and Christianity, in their ideologies, are worlds apart. There is no interconnection. There might be superficial connections that some people might argue that in the book of Acts, there is some sort of communal living or people giving money to each other. But that, again, was based on the individual's desire to do that, not because of force. Different. Totally different. Let me tell you another quick story. One of the founding fathers was William Bradford, way back before the Constitution and all that good stuff. What happened with William Bradford was when him and his colony came to the United States, the first year they're on the land, they formed a colony that was somewhat communal in style. They had shared property, shared food, and everyone distributed their wealth and the property, and everyone worked together. It sounds utopian, I know, but it did not work. Actually, the colony failed. They did not get enough food for the year. A lot of people died during that winter, and there was a lot of starvation. The next year, William Bradford decided to switch things up. He decided to implement private property and the ability for one to go out there and work with his or her own hands to be able to make money themselves and make a living and give food for them and their family. Did it work? It did, because now everyone was responsible for his or her life and his or her family's life. And they succeeded. Communalism, in a sense, was tried, but it failed for a system that was much better that succeeded. On the utilitarian view, this story is very powerful. So my question to you is, should you vote this coming election, this year? I would say yes. Why should you vote? Well, I would encourage you to maybe type into Google search bar, North and South Korea, night satellite view. And you'll see North Korea and South Korea. North Korea, there is like no lights. South Korea, down below, the whole country is lit up brightly from the town's lights. One is communistic, the other is not. Now, you might say this is extreme, and you may be right. But our experience throughout the 20th century has shown that over and over and over, when communism and socialism was tried, there's great death and lots of persecution, and Christians were put to death, as they are right now in North Korea. Now I want to switch gears from the Marxist ideology versus Christianity into the world of the abortion issue. Now, this is a complicated issue for some people, but in reality, it's fairly simple and straightforward if you understand some basic biological and ethical principles here. Let me quote someone here for you. His name is Greg Koukl, and he makes a case this way. If the unborn is not a human being, no justification for abortion is necessary. If the unborn is a human being, no justification for abortion is adequate. You know, from a biological perspective, the fertilized human egg is fully human. It has a full set of chromosomes. It has a full set of DNA separate from its mom. It's not a mom's tissue. It's not its mom. It's not part of the mom. It has its own set of chromosomes and tissue and genetics. The baby is in the womb where it was designed to carry a person at that level of development. It's not a parasite. It's made to be there. If you would look at the definition of a living organism in the biological world, the human zygote, the human fetus, the human embryo would fall into the category of a living organism. And it happens to have human tissue and human genetics. That makes it a living human being. You know, the inside the womb, the baby inside the room, is the same as a baby outside of the room, besides these very specific reasons. Number one, the size of the individual. The individual in size is a different size, obviously. The second is the level of development. The baby is more developed outside the womb than inside the room. The third is environment. The environment is different, womb versus outside the womb. It's location. It's only a few inches difference. That's it, between the two. And lastly, it's the degree of dependency upon someone else. Again, these four things separate that individual inside the womb from the individual outside the womb. None of these says one is a person and one is not. Both are a person. You have a chance to vote. Who will it be? There are really only two options. And to be frank with you, unless something crazy happens, one of the two will get in. By these two standards, who is a better choice? Now, don't get me wrong. Am I pleased with either one of the choices? No. In fact, I did not vote for either one of them in the primaries. In fact, both of them are a lot more distant in my belief system than some of the other candidates that ran in the primaries. But this is what we have. And it's going to be one of those two that are going to get in. Which one follows these two criteria? Less Marxism and less abortion. You might say, oh, that's just only two views. But these are huge views. One is taking the life of another human being, murder, and the other one is imposing the rules and regulations on the rest of us that are illicit, that we should not be under, and our God-given rights as the Constitution promotes and presents. The rights endowed by our Creator. I am not happy with either one of their personal lives. In fact, I think both of their personal lives are somewhat despicable. And sadly, that's who the American people had voted for. But this is who we have. What do we do? You know, not voting is not going to help. It's not going to send a message. That ideology does not make sense. Who cares if you don't vote? A lot of people don't vote, and they're not sending a really message. All the message they're sending is, I don't care. And that does not help the situation. Nor is not voting more Christian than voting. I don't know where Christians get this idea that it's more Christian not to vote. There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't vote. It's not against any biblical precept, as far as I know. The government has given us the right to vote and has given us the privilege that we can vote. And if Christians would step up to the plate and would have voted in the primaries like they should have, we may have a different candidates right now. Good thing to think about. In addition, voting third party will not help. Sadly enough, we have a two-party system. It's just as much as you don't like it, I don't like it either. But that's who we have, and that's how the system is set up. Will it change in the future? Maybe. But we don't have that right now. Yes, there are two other parties, major parties that are running, but those people do not have a chance of getting in. We have two possible candidates. That's it. Let me ask you two questions here. These questions are important. Who is the one that is more pro-life, and who is the one that is less Marxist? Who are you going to vote for? between the two of them.